Through the prayers of Holy Fathers, Lord Jesus Christ, our God, have mercy on us and save us. Amen. Good evening for those who are new here. My name is Father Joseph Swaden. I've worked in Orthodox Apologetics since 1998 and I'm the founder of NFTU, True Orthodox and Ecumenical News, since 2004. We've been in the apologetic space on Facebook since 2016 and on YouTube since 2018. And if you appreciate what we do here, please like and subscribe. Today we do a short version of our live Q&A session where you can get your questions answered live, as well as member-requested video reviews. So let's get started as always. If you want to jump on stream to ask a question or make a comment, just click the link in the top of the chat. I will be taking super chats from the YouTube chat. And if you want your question or comment without super chatting, I'll answer it, but you might miss it if I don't put it up. So that's, the basis of, every show we do. And of course, we usually have a topic. So we do have one today, and we're going to get right into it as soon as I get through the opening comments. Let's see here. Okay, Father Antonio says, good evening. Monster Reader sends across. God bless you. Okay, Father Boniface says, benedicite to Father Antonios, and benedicite, Father Joseph, benedicite. And just remember, if you are a member, you get your comments right on the screen. Hey, why is the video in vertical mode? My guess is because you are on a phone. StreamYard introduced this past Sunday the ability to do like double, to do both vertical and horizontal. So it should appear optimized for your device. Let's see. And Father bless, may God bless you, Reader John, in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Yep. Oh, he has a vertical. So yeah, it's yep, that's exactly right. We have two of them now. So, and God bless you again. Okay. In that case, so this is it's interesting. We're here. As I mentioned, this is going to be a relatively short show, but we're going to follow the same rules as we always do, which is we're going to go for an hour. And if we get to 75% of 120, which is our goal for today, because we didn't make our goal on Sunday, basically, if we can get to $90, I will go on for an additional half hour till 9. Or if we make it to the goal, then we'll go to 9:30. So that's why I started this a little bit early today, because I have work to do after 9:30. So it's just kind of crazy. Gabriel Michael 43 asked Father Joseph, good evening. May I ask if there is any connection between your family name and the town of Sueda in southern Syria? I have been wondering that ever since I heard of Sueda. I don't actually know. My grandfather actually was from a treat in Lebanon, so I don't know if there is a connection to Sueda, but I imagine, considering the size of the Swedan name, there is a very good possibility that there is, but I haven't researched it enough to say that properly. So let's see. Father Antonio says Benedicite, Father Boniface. Okay, so yeah, so that's my goal is if we can reach the, I'd say, modest goal of 120, I might make an additional request for those who would be willing to help. Brother, could you spare a Cash App or a PayPal? Because YouTube super chats are great, but they go to next month's payment and they're 30% discounted. So that's not why we're here. We're here for the creepy thumbnail, and let's get right to it. Because today's creepy thumbnail, as you have seen, or if you haven't seen it yet, I shall just put it up on the screen, was this. And so you can see there's Elder Ephraim and there's Father Peter here. What are we talking about today? Let's find out. Actually, I'll just tell you right off the bat, because the link is in the description. We are talking about the latest article from Orthodox Traditionalist, which makes some pretty bold claims, and I'm curious to see how people react to it. So let's get right to it. It's the Elder Ephraim of Arizona. They dare not quote, when you're quote unquote saint, it condemns ecumenism and the WCC. And just remember, it is a live Q&A, so you can call in if you want to, and put your questions or challenges there. Let me see here. Sarah from Rose 7 says, I've seen you putting videos saying things against Elder Paisios. He, along with others, warned us what is to come, like digital IDs, and it's happening. How is he not a saint in true orthodoxy? Well, I'm gonna, it's funny because he has the opposite problem that Elder Ephraim has, which is that a lot of people believe how Saint Elder Paisios is a saint, so on and so forth. But there's a lot of evidence that he was kind of, he held some crazy views and he held nasty views towards the true Orthodox. He held very high views towards the ecumenists in the ecumenical patriarchate. So it's contradictory. Yeah, the point is, you said he along with others. Like, yeah, it was part of a bandwagon. Frankly, S. Figmeno has been warning about things like digital IDs and the barcodes and things for decades. So it's not exactly like that's an automatic call to sainthood. That's more of an automatic recognition of the scary realities in which we live. As I've mentioned, like digital ID, Apple is the first company to introduce digital ID as of last week, where you can effectively put all of your data, like including biometric data and your passport, etc., right into your phone. So you now have a scannable, trackable. I hope they're okay. It's let me see here. So Seraphim Rose says, could it be, Father, that he was just wrong on things since he was human? Absolutely. Look, I'm not going to do is I'm not going to say the ecumenical patriarchate declared him a saint, so he's a saint, because we don't recognize the ecumenical patriarchate's authority. But who knows? Maybe in 100 years or 50 years, there will be loads of miracles among true Orthodox from Elder Paisios. I have no idea. And then, that could happen. I don't think it's going to. But it could. That's the point. So, when you ask the question, yeah, could he have just been wrong on things because he was human? Yeah, he could have. It's very simple. But that's true. You have to extend that courtesy to true Orthodox saints who do the same thing, and so this is what you have to realize, is that there are now two global camps in Orthodoxy. The biggest global camp, obviously, whether you realize it or not, is World Orthodoxy or government-sponsored Orthodoxy, or whatever you want to call it. And then you have the millions of true Orthodox who, in different countries throughout the world, are maintaining the traditional position. And it seems like those in the government-sponsored hierarchies are moving away from that. And the canons tell us what to do, which is to go under true bishops. And there are plenty of them all over the world, including this country. So that's what I would say. I would say, rather than look at Elder Paisios's responsibilities and, whether he was wrong, etc., you might want to observe that yourself and look at the situation that you're in and see if that's something that you need to work on or change. Because the canons tell us what to do, and that's to go to true bishops. So I hope that helps, Seraphim. And you have a great day. So let's get to this article. The Elder Ephraim of Arizona, they dare not quote, when your saint condemns ecumenism in the WCC. And to make it easier to read, I'm going to take off the little banner. I hope everyone can remember that, of course, they can call in with questions or challenges. Okay, so let's see here. Get back to this. Where is it? I don't know where. Okay. Basically, it's an article from Subdeacon Ictarios. He has been a prolific writer. We all know his works and stuff. He's just great like that. So he writes, and he says that, in 2023, and I'm probably going to shorten this a little. In 2023, while researching, writing, and compiling the Orthodox Patristic Witness concerning Catholicism for Uncut Mountain Press, I came across an obscure and long-forgotten book published in 1991 by New Sarov Press, with the blessing of then Bishop Hilarion, Cabral, the future Metropolitan of Rocor MP. The book, titled The Call from the Holy Mountain, had been well known and published by the monastery of Philotheu on Mount Athos, and authored by the now well-known Resist From Within Elder Ephraim of Philotheu in Arizona. At that point in my research, I was examining elders who had not been formally canonized but were still regarded as holy and written forcefully against ecumenism. The discovery, therefore, struck me as entirely providential, arriving precisely when I needed first-hand anti-ecumenist testimony. It seemed to fit seamlessly into the thematic structure I was developing. Then it says, within A Call from the Holy Mountain, there are two brief but striking chapters that confront the pan-heresy of ecumenism, the World Council of Churches, and the broader array of non-Orthodox religions. The chapter is entitled "The Church Has No Place Among the Conglomeration of Errors and Heresies, Ecumenism," and let us not deceive ourselves. Between orthodoxy and heterodoxy, there exists an enormous gap, aligned directly with the anti-papist material I was assembling for Uncut Mountain Press. Recognizing their relevance, I approached Father Peter Heers about including them in the Orthodox Patristic Witness. To my surprise, he immediately told me that we could not incorporate the material. This was unexpected given how revered Elder Ephraim and St. Anthony's Monastery are within the Orthodox ethos circle. Father Peter then explained that although the text was genuinely written by Father Ephraim of Arizona, the monastery of St. Anthony's would deny that he was the author. This was difficult to understand, given that the book had originally been published by the monastery of Philotheo in Greek and later in English with the blessing of Bishop Hilarion of Roquefort. Father Peter further clarified that Father Ephraim had written the text while serving as abbot of Philotheo on Mount Athos, and that its authenticity was well known to those familiar with the situation. He himself had reliable confirmation through a close family friend in Greece, the owner of the famous Orthodox publishing house Orthodox Kypseli, which had personally seen the original Greek manuscript and affirmed it was unquestionably authored by Father Ephraim. Naturally, I asked why the monastery would deny authorship of a text that offered such a powerful witness against the papists and against ecumenism. Father Peter responded that St. Anthony's would continue to deny Elder Ephraim's authorship because the text was unapologetically anti-ecumenist, but the monastery did not want to jeopardize the possibility of his future canonization. Publishing material that stood in direct contradiction to the ecumenical positions of the ecumenical patriarchate would create serious conflict. For this reason, even though both Uncut Mountain Press and Father Peter personally wished to include the text in the Orthodox Patristic Witness, they refrained for fear of provoking the archheresiarchs in Constantinople and in New York at co-arch headquarters. Consequently, I was not permitted to include the text in the final volume. Then it goes on to talk about the book that as it was published. It includes people like Philotheus Ramachos, Cleopa of Romania, etc. But what's noticeably absent is there's nothing from Elder Ephraim. And anyone who knows Father Peter Heers, Uncut Mountain, or Orthodox Ethos Circle will immediately recognize how striking this omission is, given the near worship they express towards Father Ephraim. And during my stay at Father Peter's home in Florence, Arizona, he even remarked to me, "The words of Elder Ephraim here in Florence are gospel." With such devotion to this new calendarist elder, his exclusion from the volume is difficult to overlook. And he basically explains why such a thing would be problematic for the monastery in Arizona to admit, because they wanted to see him canonized first, I guess. So ultimately, and then on top of that, this article is really good because it actually has the two hidden chapters, or forgotten chapters, I should say, that are against ecumenism. And if you look in the description in our video here, you will see a link to the article itself. And if you want to read those, you can do that just by clicking the link there. And so that is basically, it's a shocking revelation that actually the monastery of St. Anthony will actually censor their own Elder Ephraim's work. Like, that's crazy when you think about it. Yeah, JG says, wow, absolutely true. Sarah from Rose says, I was going to go to the GOC, but my main issue with the GOC is how they don't disagree with each other. Not a communion, not a dig, just what I've seen. I could be wrong, though. Well, once again, if you're with, the GOC, for example, is the largest True Orthodox communion globally on the planet. Their communion is the largest one, period. And then, ours is second. But the whole point is that there's not as much division as there used to be. It's like you've got okay, this much is united, and then this much is separately united, and then everyone else is kind of, they're a much smaller part. So it's not nearly as bad as people think. JG says, Father Joseph, your blessing, please. Thanks. May God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Okay, so let's continue on. And so let's see, let's go here. So that's been the biggest thing that's been happening this week. It looks like there's other things that are going on. There was the let me see here. I know that there was a case of like I guess the UOC KP, not KP, the UOC Moscow Patriarchate or former Moscow Patriarchate. I guess went to the White House, and there's like a whole hullabaloo between the Bartholomewites and the Kirillites, basically like who's they're both vying for Trump's opinion. Meanwhile, there are true Orthodox in Ukraine and true Orthodox in Russia who are not being treated the best. Some of them have an ability to negotiate; they are in a position of strength. Some are not. We are seeing, though, reports now, probably monthly, of priests who are, slightly younger. They're not even sometimes young. Like some of them are like my age, and they're being just dragged into conscription on one side or the other. This is a fratricidal war, and they're trying to drag in every clergy who's a dissident they can, so that they have an excuse to put them in the meat grinder. So unfortunately, yeah, that's the problem that we're dealing with today. Let me see here. Hello, my name is Direction Anti-Humanism says, hello, my name is Michael. This is my first time watching. I'm writing to you from Romania. Are you aware of the Orthodox Synod of Greece 2016? Have you researched was it a heretical synod? We would call it a robber synod, mostly because the participants are already ensconced in ecumenism and basically proclaim that as truth. So yeah, it is. It's a false synod. I would stay away from them. If you are in Romania, I don't know if you were familiar with the BOSVR or the church in Slatiora, and they have churches all over. I would recommend going there. We have some parishes in Romania as well, but not nearly as many. So the point is, if you're looking for true Orthodox synods, that would be probably the easiest way to go. Seraphim says I was going to be brought under the Avlona Synod, but my bishop told me that we aren't in communion with the GOCK and a few others. I don't understand why, despite different beliefs on the calendar. The good news is, if you go to the Avlona Synod, you're in communion with my synod, which means you can receive communion in our parishes, etc. So, there's a negative. We're a lot smaller, but the positive is that. Anyway, but yeah, Bishop Irenaeus is great. I think he's still in Greece right now. So that's that's what I would say. Let's see here. What else we got? To again, this is going to be a shorter episode unless we can make it a longer episode. And so basically, I am trying to see if I can get the bills paid, but again, I'm trying to get this month's bills paid. So super chats are good. They will help with next month, but right now we're currently at 0 and my goal is 120, and that will be probably my goal for the rest of the week until we accomplish it. So far we're at 0. Okay, so and always as always it's cafe time. If you're trying to get registered at the EphraimCafe.com, let us know in the comments. I am looking to make some updates. I've made some updates to the Ephrosynos Cafe already, so that things can be a little more efficient. So we've changed up a few of the design features. The chat defaults to the events chat, so you can see things that are happening as they are much faster. So that's basically where we are here. So let's see here. Okay, so yeah, that was the biggest. The second, I guess, the next biggest thing was the visit of I believe it's Metropolitan and Newfreeze people to the U.S. I will see if I can pull up the article about it. Let me see here. Hold on. Okay, yeah, here it is. The Hill, White House to meet clergy with ties to pro-war Russian Orthodox Church. Not sure how to feel about that titling, but I mean, I get like why they would title it that way. And let me see if I can pull that. So yeah, these are kind of clergy with ties to the pro-war Russian Orthodox Church. I have no idea how close Metropolitan Newfree is to the Moscow Synod at this point, but again, intelligence seems to suggest that there's still some connections there. From my perspective, let me see here. It says here, it's come to my attention that ROCOR, assuming ROCOR MP, is actively seeking to expand its political influence in the United States, including through an event reportedly scheduled for November 18th, 2025, aimed at lobbying members of Congress and their staff. Um, yeah, well, unfortunately, ever since the 2007 split, the question of whether ROCOR MP is actually actively an agent of the Russian of the Kremlin is it's been a real question. They did put some protest together last week, um, and so let me see here. Seraphim says, "I know the canonical norm is to call a synod before a split, and I haven't found anything on the GOC trying to call a synod when the calendar change happened. If you guys did know, where can I read it? Well, no, the canonical norm is to always have synods, but if somebody decides to engage in a heretical practice, obviously that can't be the canonical norm that you call it before because it already happened. In the case of the True Orthodox, in Greece, you had the innovation came about in 1924. And so, since there was no real organization, monks from Mount Athos were coming down to various villages, etc., to give people communion and services on the traditional calendar. In fact, they weren't able to call a synod together because there were state persecutions happening until 1935. In 1935, they did call a synod. They did condemn the new calendarists, and this was right after the new calendarists had convened a synod, saying that the marriages and baptisms of True Orthodox of old calendarists were invalid. So that caused the leadership of the old calendarists to rise and to convene exactly the synod you're talking about. Most histories of the True Orthodox of Greece do include those, including the struggle against ecumenism, New Zion and Babylon, etc. And that's actually pretty well established. 1935 was when that synod happened. Then there was the wavering that led to the Florinite Matthewite schism, and then the 1950 epistle, which basically cemented the traditional True Orthodox position. So I hope that helps with that. Yeah, so ultimately, last week, Finland's Security Intelligence Service warned that Orthodox parishes in Finland operating under the Moscow Patriarchate are connected to influence activities linked to the Russian state, but added that the activity is not extension. So yeah, it mentions the 2007 union. And so I guess okay, so it's Bishop Irene, and I guess let me see here. So I guess they're going to be talking to people from ROCOR MP, which tells me that whether they realize it or not, even though these are non-state actors, they are still acting in the service of the Kremlin. I am hoping that somebody reaches out to the media to explain the real situation of what's happening instead of the spook game type spy game things that are happening. Matthew, True Orthodox says, Father bless. May God bless you, Matthew, in the name of the Father and Son and the Holy Spirit. So yeah, so those are kind of the big issues that we have had that we've seen in the past couple of days. Um, it is things are moving along as more and more people discover the truth of what's happening and realize that this is like serious geopolitics that we're all engaging in here, and it's not simply in Russia. As we mentioned, Bulgaria, the state is trying to remove the registrations of the True Orthodox in Bulgaria. I mentioned what's happening in Russia and Ukraine. Basically, people who aren't on the Ukraine side or aren't on the Kremlin side, unfortunately, are being rounded up in many cases. And Sarah from Rose 7 says, "Have you seen the digital ID and what is happening?" Oh, absolutely. I mean, we could go through a short. I bet you I can find a short video about China so people can see where it's going. Give me just a moment. A moment. Let's see if we can find something small. All right. This looks pretty small. It's 4 minutes, so let's try that. Okay, 1 second. So for people wondering, what is this digital ID? Digital ID is, again, where they're taking your biometric information. It can be put on your phone, etc. And then it leads to stuff like this once they've sufficiently nationalized it. So I'll just put this really quick, and that'll be the end of that discussion, because for people who don't know, they should know. Apple just released digital ID last week. That means Android is sure to follow. Here we go, folks. We're in for a wild ride.
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now, the Chinese are also ranked, given a mark out of a possible 950 points. The score in the 700s is considered good. Around the 500 mark is not. For now, the number is a sort of bad credit rating, keeping track of everyone's spending habits.
I think being ranked is a good thing. A society has to have rules.
It forces us to be well-behaved.
It may seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it. And anyway, we don't have a choice.
But in an effort to keep all of its subjects in line, Beijing is taking the system a step further in 2020. It's aggregating data gathered by banks, private companies, and the state to rate if someone's a good or bad citizen.
By using the most data possible, the so-called big data, the system will play an important role in rebuilding a moral society.
The state will go over every detail of a person's life with a fine-tooth comb: their financial situation, spending habits, career, even behavior on social media. Criticizing the government online or displaying outward signs of wealth is a no-no. On the other hand, praising the party or giving blood increases your social credit. Xiao Wenwang is a model citizen. She lives in Nanjing, a testing ground for social ranking. Married with a child, she has a job in a retirement home, no debts, and she wouldn't dream of jaywalking.
As a good citizen, I respect the rules of the road. If I didn't, I'd lose points on my social credit.
In theory, everything can be taken into account in the social score, even the most innocuous errands like supermarket shopping. When Xiao Wenwang makes an electronic payment, her purchases tell the state a lot about her. Buying cigarettes would count against her. On the other hand, nappies show she's an attentive mother. Beer could indicate alcoholism. She'd be better off buying water. In this pilot city of 8 million people, there are only 18,000 model citizens. For Xiao Wenwang, there are perks to be had, such as paying half price for the bus.
I get discounts for all public services, even at museums. And the library is free for me, thanks to my score.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens.
It's a matter of principle. Those people have to be condemned.
Those people aren't honest, so they have to pay the price.
It's only right to pay your debts. You have to blacklist those that don't.
The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to 0. On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date. Among them is this journalist Liu Hu. He got a little too close to uncovering corruption among high-profile party members. After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. He only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from traveling.
That tells me I'm still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
Liu Hu is among a tiny minority of people who have dared to criticize the system, which some are calling a digital dictatorship.
I worry, because I think many people like me will be deprived of individual freedoms, and all of us will live with restrictions of one kind or another.
After our meeting, Liu Hu learned that his name had been removed from the blacklist, but he still has a long way to go if he doesn't want to languish at the bottom of the social credit hierarchy.
So yeah, that covers it. Yeah, so unfortunately, that's the direction that all of these digital ID systems are heading in. You can look up social credit on YouTube, and you can find everything from people being denied using a public bathroom because they're on the list, people being denied the right to buy food. So this is, it's a tragic situation. So yeah, totally aware of it. Let me see here. Leonidas with a member chat says, wait, is the MP not in communion with the NC Church of Finland? is the Rokor MP operating parishes in Finland? Both those, I don't know, and I don't know. My guess is that there are probably MP parishes or Rokor MP parishes operating in Finland. Directional anti-ecumenism. Thank you for your answer. Thank God, starting in 2016, I'm separated from heresy, according to Canon 15, Patriarch Photius. We have a big problem in Romania, although there are several thousand lay people. Unfortunately, among the clergy, there are extremely few, maximum 20, and in the whole country, and not a single bishop. I would definitely tell you to go to the True Orthodox of Romania. They are in the millions. They do have a full synod of bishops, and they are preserving the true faith. Rather than fighting from within, it's just a waste of time. I would suggest contacting those in contact with, who are under Slatuara, and just that's where I would go with it. It will save you all of these headaches, and you won't have to be alone. Let's see. Monster Reader says a society needs rules, and those rules should come from the one who made us and calls to us to repentance. Lord have mercy on us. Indeed. Let me see here. Seraphim says this means the Antichrist is here and alive, Father. The spirit of Antichrist is always alive. It's just a question as to whether it's the Antichrist or an Antichrist, of which there have been many. But that the key here is not that we're supposed to just say, well, it's time to, head off and run into the woods. No one's forcing you to accept the digital ID. They are in China, but if you're not in China, you should fight it and not accept it and say you're never going to do it and tell other people so that they say they're never going to do it. So you stop it from happening. They want to act like they're enforcing this upon they are enforcing it in China, but they're not enforcing it upon us. Now, granted, Apple has just announced that digital ID is here, and it's a good thing. Unfortunately, if you're one of those people who follows Apple's every move, stop doing that. Just don't do that, and try to make your phone more secure. There are ways to do it in the iOS ecosystem. Harden your security. Don't hand it away. Brian the Sweet says double plus good comrade. Yeah. I just can't believe where we are in some countries in 2025. However, don't be fooled. Russia is on board with the digital ID too, and they're working towards that. The Kremlin, I should say. Regular people are not a fan of that. Father, someone had proposed an argument regarding the Sixth Ecumenical Council and how the fathers were convened, the council were ordained by heretics, and how come we don't accept the holy mysteries of world Orthodox who are ordained by heretics, and yet we accept the Sixth Council? That's actually a pretty simple argument to answer, because in the Sixth Ecumenical Council, those fathers who convened the councils who had been ordained by heretics repented of heresy. And what is it that the world Orthodox bishops haven't done? They haven't repented of it as heresy because they believe it is the truth. So they believe ecumenism and all the other stuff is the true faith. So Gabriel Michael says, coming soon to a quote-unquote neighborhood near us. Not if I can help it. Seraphim Rose says, is the mainline Orthodox Church, or as we like to call it, the government-sponsored Orthodox Church, nations for this system or no? I know we have a lot of bishops who aren't for any of this. Again, the biggest one is the Moscow Patriarchate, and they are pretty much on board with all of this. Bishop Enoch says the first session of the Seventh Ecumenical Council answers this question. Absolutely. Seraphim Rose says in the UK they're enforcing it. Yeah, but there are also people who are trying to knock down the cameras and stuff like that. So you can be part of the passive lot, or you can be part of the people fighting back. I would fight back. That would be what I would do. De Kasvetslotsi says, that's what I said. Exactly what I said. Thank you, Father. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Wonderful. All right. Well, we are now in the 32nd minute of the hour. Leonida says, it's hard for me to view Lasky and Solzhenitsyn as heretics. Thoughts? Lasky, I mean, he had his own odd ideas. I know he was kind of strict as an MP person, but if we're willing to give Lasky the benefit of the doubt, for example, I mean, there's a lot more people we should give the benefit of the doubt to. Solzhenitsyn was odd. I still don't know what to think of him. He didn't, when he was asked and told about the catacomb church, he denied it existed and said, let's focus on the old believers instead. But that inadvertently was also a Kremlin state goal. Sarah from Rose says, wait, Rokor's for the ID? Can you show if it's not too much to ask for? No, I didn't say Rokor was. The Moscow Patriarchate is, because they're following the program that's being issued by the Kremlin that's run by Hermann Gref, who is the head of Sberbank and World Economic Forum, baby, who is basically promoting all these great digital solutions. And they tried to introduce facial recognition to get into school, things like that. They're doing some crazy stuff in Russia under the Kremlin, and it's not all healthy. Yes, the MP, sorry. The MP doesn't talk much about digital IDs. Strangely, the best way to not deal with it is to not talk about it, and they have been squarely focused on the fratricidal war between Russia and Ukraine, which is killing loads and loads of people. Let me see here. Okay. Let's see. Russia is apostate. Bishop Enoch says they had an extreme COVID lockdown in Russia, and the MP closed down its churches. Yes, they did. And they had people having to use digital IDs to try to even use the metro and things like that. It was absolutely insane what they did. So let's see here. All right. So just a reminder, we are, still trying to do a goal for this week. $120 is the goal. We are currently at 0. And while I do appreciate super chats, if anyone can donate anything via Cash App or PayPal on NFTU.net, it would be really appreciative. Seraphim says, could I become a monastic under the Avlona Synod? Do they have that? Yeah, they actually have a few monks in this country. I know Hieromonk Pachomios was recently elevated to the priesthood. So yeah, there's monastics. If you're looking to become a monastic, you would, if you wanted to talk to Archbishop Irenaeus, you could. I'd wait till he gets back from Greece and try to reach out to him and tell him you're interested in becoming a monastic. Granted, you don't automatically just you're not like, I want to be a monastic, and they're like, here you are, you're a monastic. That's not how it works. There's a period of testing. So that's what you have to kind of do. All right, let's see. Hold on. If you go to Google Books and search Second Council of Nicaea, I can put that link in. YouTube doesn't allow links from commenters, but it does from me. So hold on one second. Okay, let me go to 7th General Synod. General Council. Oh, thank you for that. Hold on. Okay, so here's a link to the old 7th Council text. Thank you so much. And Leonidas, not only is he a member, but with a $20 donation, he helps keeps the lights on with a super chat for $20 Canadian. So this is great. As I said, I'm hoping if some PayPals or Cash Apps could assist, that would be awesome. But I will take everything because it helps keep the lights on next month, if not necessarily this month. So we are now down to 100, and let's put that there. And if we can make it to 90, then I will keep the stream going until 9 o'clock. If we can make it to the 120, I will keep the stream going till 9:30. So let's continue on. So thank you for that, and thank you so much. Yes, Ludika Enoch says I sent it to the private element. Yes, and I put the link there. Next, let's see here. Jacob says you can't just go to a different local bishop. They still commemorate apostate patriarchs. Well, that's not our problem. That's a world Orthodox problem. Once you have joined the True Orthodox, that's not a problem, because our primates, whether it be archbishops of Athens or Metropolitan of Moscow, etc., are fully Orthodox. So you don't have to worry about that. That's just how it goes. So if you're trying to get past that flippy problem, you just have to go to True Orthodox bishops. Problem solved. Let's see here. Leonidas says, do potential monastics get hazed? No. They're tested. Remember, they're taking a lifelong step. So they're tested in their stability. And usually, there are different ways that abbots test that stability, and bishops and, uh, you know, abbots test that stability. But the point is, it usually involves work and the seriousness of the thing, and not everybody makes it. Some people they realize that being a monastic's not for them. But what I will say is, I'm surprised at the number of people who monasticism might be good for today, because there are a lot of younger virginal people who are opting out of relationships. Well, I mean, if you feel like that could be a permanent thing, you may want to consider monasticism, because if you're that serious that you can say no to the opposite sex, etc., and that you seriously want to devote your life to God, yeah. But you have to actually have that. And a lot of people, I've seen lots of people who are like, I'm lonely, maybe I should become monastic. Those are the people who never work out. Very rarely. Some do, but most of the time they don't. Bishop Enoch says, the fathers commenting on the scriptures do provide a general schema of the end times. Oh, yeah, this is Sarah from Rose's question. This is an answer to Sarah from Rose's question. My hang-up, father, is that St. Paul talks about that the church will go through an apostasy. Orthodoxy is the true church. So why can't world orthodoxy be right, since St. Paul said this would happen? Well, there is the possibility that they can be right, but I will say 20 years ago, I felt a lot more apocalyptic than I do now, because they've gotten a lot worse and we've gotten a lot better. And so if the church has over 100 bishops, the true Orthodox have over 100, 20 bishops or something like that throughout the world, hundreds, if not thousands of parishes, millions of people, in ultra Orthodox countries. Why should I become apocalyptic? Things are way better than they were 25 years ago. So, as far as I'm concerned, the end is not near. Let me see here. What was this? Okay. Okay. Let me see here. An anonymous donation. Thank you so much through Give Send Go. Which it will take the rest of the week to get, but that helps a lot. So that drops our total to just $50, because we are now at $70 with an anonymous donation through Give Send Go. So, and that's for $50. So awesome. We're now in the running. We're in the running, folks. We had only 20. It's 17 minutes left, but we are close. So now, if we look at the total, just to get there, and I'll get back to the subject at hand. We're currently at 50. 50 left to reach the total to go until 9:30. But that hasn't occurred just yet. Okay, wait, I take that back. I just received another donation, I realize, for $50. So, whoa. And I wish I could just import Reader John here so we could do this, because we just literally hit the total. And that was through PayPal, so thank you very much. Hold on, and that's 50, and now that changes to 0. So everything is goal reached. Hold on. So the goal reached currently at 120. Awesome. Incredibly awesome. Now I'm afraid I missed stuff, so I'm going to have to double check. But we are going till 9:30. So yeah, awesome. Thank you. So let's get back here. No. Dick Velocity, no, we use Element for communication. Highly recommend it, by the way, if you haven't tried it. Clear, decentralized, and also encrypted. So I'm having problems with it on my phone, but I think that's Google more than Element. But yeah, so I put the link in there, the Convelosti. It's in there. Just look for a link from NFTU, and you'll be able to get that. Let's see here. So yeah, maybe historically Canon 50 could be applied differently, but not in the current World Orthodoxy. No, well, it can be applied in World Orthodoxy and should. It means you should leave and go to True Orthodox bishops. Yeah, and so Bishop Enoch says the fathers commenting on the scriptures do provide a general schema of the end times. For example, the gospel, i.e., the true gospel from Orthodoxy, has to be preached to the entire world. After that, and only then, will a falling away happen. That's true. Yeah, because there's confessing bishops outside of element. The Methodian and various patristic texts analyze this. And I think Canon 15 could be applied in the World Orthodox. If all the patriarchs weren't bad, maybe it was just some. Find a good bishop and a good patriarch, although this is impossible today. Unless you join us. And that's why I'm telling everyone to be positive. I'm going to make a video, hopefully this week, called Welcome to Orthodoxy, where we explain that in the true Orthodox world, we're really all over the world, great things are happening, and we're answering the ecumenists and the surginess. Leonidas with a member chat. Thank you again. Thoughts on idiorhythmic versus Cenobitic monasticism. Are there any idiorhythmic monasteries left? From what I understand, there are still a few. And I know that in Jerusalem, they had idiorhythmic monasteries. It may be the case that there are some in Russia. The main difference between Cenobitic monasticism and idiorhythmic is that Cenobitic monasticism, everyone's in a community and they kind of work together as a whole. Idiorhythmic, everyone is kind of doing their own thing. They get together for prayers, but then they're basically independent. So there's a basic difference there. So yeah, they still do exist, I'm pretty sure. Seraphim says, forgive me, Father, for asking these questions, but I really do want to become a monastic and give my life to God. I'm comparing True Orthodox to World Orthodoxy, and although I'm not convinced of True Orthodox yet, that is why I'm asking. The process is the same. Talk to the bishop or abbot. And in the case of the Avlona Synod, that would be with Archbishop Irenaeus. Bishop Enoch, who is in the chat here, is a bishop and a monastic father at the Abbey of the Holy Name in New Jersey. You can talk to him about monasticism too. A very good 4th century patristic text would be St. Hilary of Poitiers against Auxentius. It describes what people in northern Italy and Gaul did under St. Hilary. Flower has a translation of this and other texts in the appendix of his book, Emperors and Bishops in Late Roman Empires. Well, we don't have patriarchs, we do have archbishops over synods. Well, the Archbishop of Athens is technically a patriarchal rank, as is the Metropolitan of Moscow. Please remember that St. Tikhon was a once-in-a-lifetime rare case, and if you don't count St. Tikhon, then there have been no patriarchs in Russia for like 400 years. The Metropolitan had patriarchal rank. So, with that, I will say I do not have, I should have an automatic recording of the victory thing with Reader John saying winning, but he's not here, and so I'm gonna have to try to do it myself, and so here goes nothing. Winning. Yeah, that didn't work. I'm just not that good. I gotta record his. Anyway, so we did make it. Yep, I got the sound effect. I just did. You want me? I'm gonna try it again because that was so bad. All right, so here we go. So like winning. I don't know. Maybe that was better. Okay, I don't know. I don't know. Like, let me put it to you this way. I did not. I can't do it, man. Taylor Harden, that's Reader John asks, what kind of monastery is ours? I know we follow the rule of St. Benedict. Are you referring to if you're referring to the Abbey, that would be a Cenobitic monastery, but technically closer to a skeet because of the size, but it would still be following, it's still the rule of the Cenobia that they have the readings with the meals, etc. Yeah, so that's what it would be. And that's the ideal that St. Benedict recommends generally, because he actually talks about the different kinds of monks and basically thinks the other ones are lower. The Seraphim says, where is that True Orthodox monastery at in New Jersey? That's West Milford. It's the Abbey of the Holy Name. I should also mention it is a Western Rite monastery, but it is traditional pre-schism Western Rite. So please don't think it looks like the Roman Catholic Protestant stuff. Just go and visit, and you'll be I think you'll be impressed with the services. But then you have to ask if you want to become a monastic, and they have to talk to you. Reader John says, thank you, Father. No problem. All right. So now that we're going for the full 2 hours. So we'll be here till 9:30. So if you are here to get your questions or comments answered, you want to ask a question, make a comment, issue a challenge, you can just click the link in the top of the chat on YouTube or click the chat in the chat that is in the X chat. So just a StreamYard link in X. So let's take a look. See what we got here. De Castolotti says, thank you guys for showing me the text. St. Tarasius perfectly sums up the spiritual problem of heresy and the lack of dead formalism in God-given orthodoxy. No problem. So here I am, looking for questions, looking for comments. And now you got me for a whole other hour, guys. A whole other hour. Jacob Clemens asks, is Hakna as of now a synod that should be avoided? From what I've observed, I'd personally say yes. Yeah, they're fully endorsing name worshiping, which is a condemned heresy. So yeah, I would avoid them. Their products are still good. Keep in mind the good products that they made were made long before they became heretics. So you can look for replacements. If you do, like the Psalter, to me, there's no reason to get otherwise. Let's see here. Bishop Enoch says, can you talk about how the UOJ changed the title of that article after the video? Yes. I gotta go to the UOJ. Give me a moment. Let me see. Jacob says, love their icons best in the US. Yeah. Some of those I believe those were mostly made by, I think Bishop Gregory took his off and Bishop Moses made those for the most part. Let's take a look. And, hold on. Let me go to the UOJ. Okay. Union of Orthodox Journalists in America. Okay, that's not the American one. I'm trying to find the American UOJ. Give me one moment. Let me look on X and see if I can find it that way. One moment while I search for things that people ask. Okay. Okay, what's their website? UOJ.news. Okay, so let me take a look here. And what does this say? Pan Orthodox delegation meets Rep Luna to urge action on persecution of the UOC. Is that the article that was changed, Vladika? Because I don't know if I followed fast enough to see what the original title was. Seraphim says, does the Abbey of the Holy Name use a form of TLM or Ambrosian rite? No. The Abbey uses the pre-schism Roman Mass as was used in England. It is in English. Do we have the texts in Latin? Yes, we do. We just don't generally use them. We use them in English so they can be understood. However, we do have the texts in Latin if you'd like to personally read some, I guess. But yeah, the Ambrosian rite, however, no, that was done for a short while when we were part of the Milan Synod and the Milan Synod still existed. But unfortunately, the bishop who was in charge of translating it was almost done translating it into the native Italian. From the Latin, his computer blew up and he went crazy. So, let me see here. Leonidas with a member chat says, I'm reluctant about buying icons from ATM because I don't want them blessed by an Slavist. To my knowledge, they don't actually bless the icons, but that said, I can understand if you don't want to support Slavius. But yeah, I mean, if you feel that uncomfortable, I wouldn't do it. There's lots of places to buy icons. Dica Slote says, if people ask about the Catholic character of the church and how most of the true Orthodox are not in formal communion with each other, what would be a genuine answer? Who has the Holy Sacraments? The best genuine answer you can give is that unity, Catholic unity in Orthodoxy, is not determined by communion. It's determined by the profession of faith. So even though there are formal earthly divisions between us, we all share the same Orthodox faith, and we are all striving to reach heaven as the tradition has taught us. Formal breaks in communion don't make that they don't make it impossible for God to work with, as long as we all share the faith. I know that if I walk into the churches of almost every true Orthodox in this country, they believe the same things I do. And so even though we may have disagreements on our bishops, we don't have disagreements on orthodoxy. Let me see here. Jacob says, I've heard Hagna clergy deny their heresy, but personally I think that's crepe, as in tissue paper. There's a reason most Hagna went Kalinikos and that Macarius broke communion before, because Bishop Gregory kept pushing this. Yeah, and as I heard today from somebody else who was with him, apparently they teach in Yugoslavia is dogmatic. So that, as far as I'm concerned, they're heretics. I'm sorry to say that. Let me see. Elder Ephraim consistently warned that the ecumenist influence centered in New York City, particularly through the World Council of Churches and certain new Calendarist churches, hierarchs threatened Orthodox purity and made the old calendar a necessary safeguard against compromise. Yeah, memory eternal to him. I feel bad that Elder Ephraim. I thought you were talking about. I was reading Hachna, and I thought you were talking about Metropolitan Ephraim. Yeah, Lord of Mercy when it comes to Elder Ephraim. Yeah, he did, but the problem is then he joined the church that was involved in the ecumenist influence centered in New York City and pushed through the new calendarist hierarchs. I mean, what good is it to say that ecumenism is wrong, which is probably why they'll deny it at St. Anthony's, when it's their own leadership who are the people he's talking about? And so, unfortunately, that's why they're not going to say that Elder Ephraim is, is the author of this work, even though it's obvious. Heresy, Lotti. I hope that answer was, sufficient. Yeah, well, the easier thing, Jacob, is just to find another icon publishing house. There's quite a few. There's no shortage of icon publishing houses. They do use high quality wood on the mount, but past that, and that's good, but I mean, I'm not gonna just say you could literally buy that at Hobby Lobby or Home Depot and have it cut and then mount the icon yourself and paint it and then gloss it. You could. It is not impossible to do. We do them here. And if you don't believe me, I can just show you. This is a mounted icon. Hold on. Okay, took this from my icon corner. This is a mounted icon. You can see here, very nice, very clean, so on and so forth. My Matishka made this. It's the same as a store quality icon, but it's mounted. We'll just put that over here. Because we're supposed to, collect and preserve every icon we have. On our calendars, for example, we have these small bicolor icons of Christ and the Theotokos. Well, what happens when the calendar is over and you have that? Well, I just put them in a frame. And the point is that, these are not, these should not be like a big problem for an Orthodox Christian. Let's see here. Bishop Enoch says, can you download extremely high quality scans at this point and use high quality printers? Either that or contract with an iconographer for a hand painted one. Yeah, it's really that simple. Find a good icon of decent resolution, print it at FedEx office, and mount it on wood. And if you don't have the gumption to mount it on wood, frame it. Let me see here. Yeah, Jacob says, I use them because I personally like them the best visually and they mount well. As you said, plus I don't see a problem. I just get my icons blessed by a good priest I trust. Yeah, you could do that as well. Stephanie says, St. Isaac of Syria, Skeeton, Wisconsin makes such lovely icons and give a short description of each icon. And they have a very large collection. So yeah, that's another one. Sarah from Rose says, from my perspective, Father, World Orthodox, although it still has problems, we still have many priests and bishops who are against ecumenism. Let me correct you there. You have many priests against ecumenism. If you had many bishops, half your problem would be solved. The fact is, you have fewer bishops than you might have had 25 years ago that are against ecumenism. Most of them are firmly grounded in ecumenism. And so he says, so for me, I don't understand why I should go to True Orthodoxy since you oppose Antichrist. you can't oppose Antichrist if you're also in favor of the way you get there. So, this is the problem. That's part of the reason why they're being so apocalyptic. It's to keep you in the game for another 5 years, thinking, oh, what's going to change? What's going to change? So you get used to it. You get used to the ecumenism. You get used to the joint prayers of your patriarchs with the Roman Catholics, so on and so forth. This is the process they've used for decades, which is you get used to it. I remember Bishop Enoch telling me about his conversion story, which it's an interesting one, and I don't feel like telling all of his personal stories. But he said along the way, he met, he was visiting an Ephraimite church, and he met a reader who was like 90 years old, and he knew about the problems in ecumenism. And he asked, "Well, what can you do about it?" And the old man basically said, "There's nothing you can do about it." And so that's what happens. They will work nonstop to make you give up. Let me see here. Seraphim Webster says, can someone ask Seraphim Row 7 if he blocked me? None of my comments on his account stay. They seem to delete automatically. And then Seraphim says, I did not block you. It might just be the YouTube algorithm. I don't know. Seraphim says, none of my comments on your community post seem to stay. Okay. I don't know what to say about that. That's a between you guys thing. Matthew Metanoia, I will say, Seraphim, you may want to check in YouTube Studio in like the comment section, because there is a place where they will automatically, if they think it's offensive or something, will automatically flag comments. So both of you should check that and see for yourselves. Is Paul making a salvific claim in 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 18 when he says, unto us which are saved? Let's take a look. All right, for the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to those who are being saved, it is the power of God. Maybe that one is, a little iffy for you, because this is interesting. The King James says, for the preaching of the cross is to them that perish foolishness, but unto us which are saved, it is the power of God. But notice this here, Matthew. This is an interesting thing. Every other translation, for a reason, actually, when it says which are saved in the King James, is actually a reference to a process happening now, which is why, to clarify, most modern editions add which are being saved. So in fact, it's not a declaration of, say, for example, once saved, only saved. It's just a declaration that the cross has saved these early Christians from the world and the devil. So that's how it goes. Let's see here. Jacob says Bishop Luke is good and even recognizes Kalinico Synod. Only issue is he's with MP. Yeah, the problem is how many of the ROCOR MPs bishops agree with Bishop Luke, and I'm pretty sure the answer is none, which means once he passes, that's it. You have no place to go. If he's recommending people to go to the Kalinico Synod, maybe you should listen to him. Just saying. Seraphim says World Orthodox also constantly revise the writings of the saints and complete take books off the shelves to conform to the narrative. Absolutely true. King Kang says, what do you think about Jesus? I think Jesus is my Lord and Savior, and he is the Son of God, the second person of the Holy Trinity. And that's what I think about Jesus. And he's here to save us through his holy and apostolic church. And if you're not part of it, we welcome you to join. Let's see here. Seraphim says, we have an Antiochian bishop in California who oppose it. There are ROCOR bishops and very little Greek. We also have George in Bulgaria who left the WCC. George in Bulgaria left the WCC from pressure in 1997. Again, the ROCOR bishops ultimately have to do what Moscow says. Moscow is ecumenist. An Antiochian bishop in California who opposes it. I don't know that he opposes it. I'd have to see his resume and what he does. My guess is he probably does also follow in ecumenism. 1 Corinthians 15:2 also says, by which also you are saved, if you keep in memory which I have preached to you, unless you have believed in vain. And so, again, Bishop Enoch is pointing out if there indicates it's a contingency. Decas Velocity says, Father, I heard a quote from, I believe, a True Orthodox saying that said Western right is just something modernism. What do you say? Western right in the Rocor and in the Antiochians is absolutely just modernism. What we do is very different. Those who see it and see pre-schism Orthodox Western right with an Orthodox ethos usually have no problem with it whatsoever. I sense there is a contingent of traditional True Orthodox people, especially older people, who really don't want anyone to go see what we do because they did not do that and they just want to think they're right academically. But I'm going to have to say, no, unfortunately, that's not how this works. You have, it's you may want to deny the Western fathers and patrimony, which is what they're doing when they are trying to push away pre-schism Western right. But if we're talking about the Antiochian and Rocor Western right stuff, which is all basically the same, Tridentine or Anglican use, yeah, we would agree with that. Sarah from Webster says, Sarah from Rosem, you don't oppose something knowingly being communion and perpetuating those who perpetuate it, commemorating those who perpetuate it. Exactly. Reader John says, Jesus Christ is God. Sarah from Rose says, Sarah from What's Fair. Hey, I just logged on. What's happening? Why is the Steam in a small screen? Oh, I just assumed it's in, because I have two streams. I have, it looks like, I got to really work with StreamYard here because it's sounding like there are two streams going on, and one of them is the mobile stream, and one of them is the non-mobile stream. So it's a new feature, I guess, that it looks good on both mobile and desktop, but apparently it looks like they're clicking the wrong ones and they're ending up in the mobile stream. Like they need to work on this. Let's see. King Anne says, so Jesus said the devil rules the world. Does that mean Jesus has little say in what happens in the world? Can you give a detailed answer, please? No, Jesus has a lot of say in what happens in the world, but it requires us to adhere to what he says, to join his church, and to become part of his body. So, no, the church is there to combat the devil and the world and has been for 2,000 years. So I hope that helps. Decas Filoti says, very interesting. Are you guys in communion with another church? Yes, the American Metropolitan is in communion with the Evlona Synod in Greece, as well as sister hierarchs and organizations in Bulgaria and Romania, and with the Synod of Metropolitan Seraphim of Moscow and Russia. And so, yeah, we have global coverage. It's smaller, but we do have global coverage. King Hang says, I know, brother. Let's see. Bishop Enoch says, fear dominates immense numbers of World Orthodox clergy about even challenging ecumenism. Many of these World Orthodox bishops, except in a few cases, I don't think there's too many, but remain anonymous in this opposition. Yeah. Which seems to indicate they know who is in charge. Father, I've never asked what's that icon behind you. I've never seen it before you, besides in your stream. That is the icon of the true vine. So it is an icon of Christ with all the apostles. So if you look up icon of the true vine in Google, you'll see different versions of it. And this is a tapestry that came from AliExpress to pick that one up. Let's see here. Leonidas with a member chat says the Antiochians are new calendarist ecumenists. Absolutely. Yes. Lingual Inquirer 6165 says stream in. I'm on my PC and it looks like a phone. Yeah, Father Joseph, there's two live streams going on. This one I'm in with 4 viewers and the other one with 26 viewers. I would suggest going to the other stream because it should look like a desktop stream. I was under the impression this was just going to create 2 different visuals. That's how they described it on StreamYard, but it looks like it's creating 2 streams, but they seem to be the same screen also. King Hank says, thank you. Both on YouTube. Man, I'm confused. Oh, well, I didn't realize it's for phones. I'm confused. I didn't know there were 2 streams, but I just found that one out this week. Okay, King Hank says, you seem like a nice person. I'm looking forward to seeing you more in the future. Much love to Jesus. Glory to Jesus Christ. Become Orthodox. I'm trying to stay stable, Father, and my concern is if I go True Orthodox and World Orthodox are correct, I'm damned, and then the other way around. I know God isn't black or white, but this does concern me deeply. Well, the only way they can be correct is if ecumenism is okay. The only way they can be correct is if Sergianism is okay. The only reason they can be correct is if modernism is okay. if your concerns are those things, then there is no way you will be okay in world orthodoxy. That's why you should just take care. God bless. Good night. Benedicite Vladica, thank you so much for commenting. The Lingual Inquirer says, I'm in the desktop stream now. Oh, good. I hope it looks better. What do you mean about the Antiochians? I'm living in the modern Antiochia now. What's the deal? Well, modernism and ecumenism, the belief that other religions can, you can be saved outside the church, you can be saved outside Christ, etc. This is what the globalists are building as the religion of the future, and we should all be concerned. Let me see here. Sarah from Rose, Sarah from Webster says, World Orthodox venerate true Orthodox saints. Pascal's wager would tell you to just become true Orthodox. I would agree. Decas Pilotti says, may the Lord grant you enlightenment and a comforting answer. Very true. Who is that? Sarah from Webster. Real Andrew the Zelt says, hi. LOL, those aren't my concerns. It's just being in the body of Christ. That's all. But the body of Christ must have the true faith. We agree. Obviously, are the Roman Catholics part of the body of Christ? Are the Protestants or the Jehovah's Witnesses or any of these other groups, are they part of the body of Christ? Because once again, if you can't really make a good argument except the sides argument, which isn't good anyway, because that's a Roman Catholic argument. It's about who's holding to the true faith. So if you know that there are people betraying the true faith and they are sanctioned and they are leading and they are considered of importance in your church, it's time to reconsider whether you're really part of the Orthodox Church. Have you guys ever been in contact with Rokana, Vladika Andronik? Yeah, I myself, my bishops have met him when they were all united in the Rokore. And I mean, I know of him and his parishes. They're good people. They're Orthodox. I have no problem with them. Sarah says, as well as St. Joseph of Petrograd, my namesake, and the New Martyrs of Russia. Absolutely. Gotcha. Really, Andrew the Zealot says, God bless you, brother. Sarah from Rose says, what wasn't St. John in the World Orthodox Church, though? No, if you're talking about St. John of Shanghai, he was in the Rokor, which was not in communion with World Orthodoxy at the time. Oh, good question. With a member chat, Leonida says, should we force ourselves to pray and concentrate on the words even though we don't feel into it? Hope that makes sense. Yes. There's the demon of acedia, or the demon, it's not exactly sloth, it's a spiritual indifference where one becomes kind of empty feeling. You fight back. You absolutely should read the words, read them a little louder. So yeah, definitely Leonidas. That's what I would suggest. Seraphim says St. John was Roquan reposed when they were out of communion with every single World Orthodox jurisdiction. He consolidated with GOC clergy at St. Martell's in Astoria, New York. Yep. Jacob Clement asks, is Metropolitan Vitalia saint? Agafongo seems to think so I disagree with someone in the Clinicos, as someone in Clinicos. What do you think? I think it's an open question. I think, a glorification has been put out there. Historically, we know that not all glorifications have worked out in the end. Sometimes they get revised. Also, 50 years from now, people who don't know Metropolitan Vitali won't be alive anymore. And if he is producing miracles, etc., his name will outlast people who don't trust him as a saint. That's just the way it's always worked. And so, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of people who say he's not. And I don't know him well enough to say that I know that. I don't know that. I know that he had definitely personality traits that irritated some people, but from what I understood, he also had a very saintly personality. He was very kind. Jury's out. Jury's out for me. I'm gonna say basically I don't know. Officially, we haven't, put him in the calendar, etc. So we don't know. Sarah from Roses didn't know that. Francis says, what's the point of trying to be orthodox in an ecumenism synod? Resist from within is futile. Absolutely true. Sarah says, I can add to my Discord. It has all these documented with photo proofs. You know how I feel about Discord, guys. So anyway. Leonida says, call in to Sarah from Rose. Yep, good idea. If you want, everyone can call in. Let me see here. Matthew says, is there an example of Sarah from Rose talking about the gospel? I read his testimony of converting to Orthodoxy, and I could not find it. One thing to remember is that Eugene Rose, before he was Father Seraphim, was originally raised an Anglican. So he understood the concepts of Christianity, but then he went into the studies of Eastern religions and all this, and then, got a friend brought him to the church, and he immediately knew he was somewhere different. He met St. John, things made him convert. He just, at that point, he was led by the Holy Spirit. So he had an understanding of the basic concepts of Christianity, even though he didn't understand the Orthodox sense of Christianity until he experienced it. So it wasn't like instantaneous, and he just went from Eastern religion to Orthodoxy. He also had that Anglican background, which allowed him to understand the basic concepts that he grew up with. De Castellosi says, "You're doing well answering all these questions so quickly, Father. Glory to God." I've been doing this for a little while now, so I'm all right. Sometimes I start mumbling, and people just give up. But let's see here. Okay, Seraphim are talking about Discord. You know how I feel about Discord. I've already said this. Maximus says God didn't send Maximus the Confessor to hell, and also Elder Ephraim blessed people coming to us, and even told people to confess at St. Marcellus. These are true, so this is why it's a kind of a thing. Jacob Clemens says he caused a bunch of issues with Rossi and Roak is my concern. I don't know that he caused too many issues with Roak. I mean, unless you count his administration. But that was really the other Russian bishops pushing too, because the ones that really wanted Moscow wanted to get rid of Roak, and then they tried to, before Rossi, Rokor MP tried to, Future Rokor MP tried to like lock up Metropolitan Battalion in the Synod building like a hostage. So let's see. Now from Webster says St. Vitaly was broken by the sin of the Rokor, which was heavily influenced by the KGB encroaching union with Moscow. He's a victim of world orthodoxy. And if we look at him like that in terms of a martyric end of his life, he did really suffer quite a bit. And so that's, I think, a valid way to look at it. He obviously was not an actual martyr, but he did have a martyric end of life. King Hang says, so surreal to me that Jesus is real, and even now I can't fathom enough that he is here and he with me, and we want to focus on him and forget the world. How do I balance living and focusing on Jesus? One easy way to do it, if you're Orthodox, is to get a prayer rope, and then you can just say, Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner, and you repeat that. It's the prayer of the publican that we find in the scriptures. And if you're busy doing work, you can also just use a prayer rope and remember to keep asking Jesus to have mercy on you. And then eventually it'll balance out in terms of, work, prayer, balance. Seraphim Rose says, Father Rose told Father Paul Baba to go to New Calendar teams. Father Rose seems to be a double-edged sword. Look, when you bring up Father Paul Baba, you start feeling a little bit like you're baiting us and you're not serious. What I would suggest is watching the interview Subdeacon Victorios did with Father Andrew Kansas, which directly addresses Father Paul Baba's claims and stuff. Decus Filotti says, have you listened to Father Andrew Kansas on Orthodox Traditionalist Publications? Exactly the interview I was recommending. Very good. Seraphim was common argument. There was an interview given by Subdeacon Victorios with Father Andrew Kansas. Now I feel like I just wasted my breath because it seems like everyone pointed it out already for me. So this is good. He never met a Paul Baba. Well, we don't know that. We do know that he probably didn't have much of an effect as he's claiming. Jacob says, what's up, brother? Also worth mentioning, Father Andrew Kansas today is a priest in the GOCK. Yes, he was. And he was actually in Rossi under Metropolitan Battalion too. So let's see. Seraphim says, hey, Filaret. Did I miss a Filaret? I don't see a Filaret. I don't know what's happening. All right. And let me see. They tried in the interview, he does not Paul Baba visited Platina at some point, but he said he wasn't this close spiritual son as he paints himself as. They literally re-blessed the altar when an Antiochian priest walked behind the iconostasis. Wow. And Father Andrew spoke with a story with an Antiochian priest entered the church in Platina and entered the altar and kissed the holy throne, after which Father Seraphim and Father Herman were extremely upset. De Gaspelosi says, yes, exactly. Seraphim says, I'm not baiting, I only ask because I know him. Okay. I want to go to Astoria to St. Marcellus, such a beautiful parish. It's Jacob Clemens, 5-hour drive. Yeah, it is really beautiful. Prosper their feast day, definitely worth it. Also, a big day for them is Theophany. The clergy from Astoria will go to the East River and they will do the traditional Theophany blessing in the freezing cold, just like they do in Greece, and people will jump in the water for the cross. It's quite amazing. So definitely worth it. Someday I'll go there. Maximus says, I really don't want to slander Father Paul, but he's got stories about Father Seraphim being clairvoyant in public, which no one was saying about Father Seraphim. Everyone that Father Herman said Father Herman was a living elder. Jacob's patron is Philaret. Okay, sorry about that. I'll call you Philaret from there. Nice to meet you, Philaret. Okay. Double checking to make sure that I didn't miss anyone, because I know people have been helpful, and I want to make sure I did catch everyone who did help, and I'm pretty sure I did. As you whoa, pray unceasingly for $9.99, helping keep the lights on. Father, is it true that when ROCO effectively renounced the anathema against ecumenism when they submitted to the MP? Yes, it is actually true. They did basically put in a clause in the union that said all previous claims of these things are null and void. What changed was Jordanville. In Jordanville, somebody began putting up a petition to push for the anathema against ecumenism. It got a number of signatures in World Orthodoxy, a couple of bishops, a few archimandrites, so on and so forth, a few hundred people. So yeah, they brought it back, but officially it's not on the books, even though it is still being read in Jordanville and in the Synod building, etc. Although it is a modified version of the ecumenism anathema, which I've talked about in the past. Let's see here. So thank you for that. And thank you for helping keep the lights on. We really did currently reach our goal. So we are now, our goal was 120. We are now at 130. One moment from P. And I see Tom Katsafanas with a super sticker. Thank you so much, Tom. We really appreciate the generosity. So I'm going to add both of you to that. So that adds, let me see here, super stickers. That's 10 from Pray Unceasingly, and Tom with 7. And so that puts us up to 147. The goal was 120, and so we are now at 147. This is awesome. Thank you so much for your kindness. And really, yeah. Sunrise says one of their bishops literally admitted that. Yes. Deck Gospelosty says, Father, where's this PayPal you mentioned? If you go to NFTU.net, like the website, and you scroll to the bottom, there is a PayPal button. I was trying to figure out how to do a QR code, which I will probably add, but I have to talk to the webmaster for NFTU about that. And, yeah, I guess I could just put, like, if I wanted to put my QR code on the screen. Oh, I don't even have to log in. I can just pick it up. Hold on. So let me share this. Hold on. If you are interested in PayPaling and you want to do that, I guess right now, well, I could share this. Whoa. Okay, I think that's too big. I guess I have to make the comments disappear. If you want to assist, I do have the PayPal. I do have the PayPal screen thingy. Oh, yes, it's a QR code. Okay, that's all. But the point is, I haven't put that down yet. So if you want to go to NFTU instead, then I would really highly suggest that doing that instead. Because if you go to NFTU.net, scroll to the bottom, the PayPal's right there. So let's remove that. But I did get a QR code, so I will be trying to figure out how to add that. Yes. Let's see. Father, are you opening up streaming? It should be open at least on. Let me just double check here, because video on YouTube should have. Oh no. Hold on a second. It's visible on the link is actually visible on the desktop, but now I'm wondering, is it visible on the mobile? Oh no. I'm gonna have to do this on. Okay, hold on. Let me go here. Okay, so the mobile. Okay, this is the mobile. I'm gonna pin it here. I'm surprised. Sorry about this. All right, so now I got like loads of these. Okay, well, all right. So it turns out I have to actually put the stream link up on both versions, the vertical and the regular one. Yeah, and now it appears, like I said, calling live again. So let's see here. Yeah. So that was lifted by the MP, and thus it's fine. Well, it condemns the MP because they are involved in ecumenism. Maximus says, just visit GOC parish or monastery. That will probably resolve all your doubts. Our bishops were never deposed by any synod. Yep. Seraphim7 says, yes, but they still read it out, which is kind of strange. Yeah, they do. I think it's a cover. It's to keep people believing that they do believe in the anathema against ecumenism. Seraphim says, you can't lift an anathema against heresy. A heresy doesn't just become not a heresy. Absolutely correct. It was against the WCC. I think it was actually against everyone who was favoring the combination of religion, not just the WCC, but they're pretty clear. Matthew says, yes, the link is visible on mobile. Aximus says, also, we aren't papists. Heresy is heresy, regardless of what row court did administratively with the anathema. That's right. Canon 15 doesn't require a council. That's right. Seraphim Webster says, WCC participation is what constitutes ecumenism, but not all ecumenism is simply just WCC participation. Very true, if that makes sense. And Rose says, gotcha. Tom gets the fun and says, Father Swaden, good evening. I've been YouTubing a lot. Noticed that there are some true Orthodox churches that reject St. Paisios. What are your thoughts on this? Well, we technically, the GO, don't recognize Elder Paisios because of the fact that he was virulently against true Orthodoxy. And he was virulently pro Bartholomew, and I think he was pretty much pro Demetrius as well. Meaning ecumenical patriarch Demetrius. What you may want to do, Tom, is I personally recommend going to RTOC, the EU RTOC website, rtoc.eu, where it talks about some stories about Elder Paisios, which give a more rounded picture of him. So it's very important to keep that in mind. When people ask, where's your Elder Paisios, I've come to say, where's your Elder Savas, the confessor of Mount Athos, because, I think that, he represents Orthodoxy very clearly. But if you're using individual people to defend Christianity or your, understanding of Orthodoxy, there's usually something missing. Let me see here. They have to interpret the anathema to make it convenient for the positional compromise they found themselves in. It's demonic. We must call it out for what it is. Demonic. Very true, Seraphim. You should have been on Cleve to Antiquity and talked to him. He spoke to me about canons on X, and it was interesting, to be honest. Well, Cleve actually showed up here, if you look at streams a couple of months back, and then he joined the Dire people, and I was like, we were all like in shock. Yeah, Seraphim says, Cleve to Antiquity completely divorced himself from his old TO friends, if we could have ever called him that. Much more profitable to be a content creator grifter for World Orthodox and embrace True Orthodox. He's a lost cause, only the Holy Spirit can help him with a change of heart. Men isn't allowed to by Bishop Shay Dyer. Wait, something has happened here. Hold on. Okay, thank you. I've received a donation of $10 from NS. Hold on one moment as we adjust. So this brings us to 157. We are now over. I don't even know what percentage we're over. The goal was 120. So we are now at 150. Hold on. 167, because we were at 157, I believe. Or were we? Now I feel like I'm missing something. Hold on. 50, 50, 20, 37. Why does it say 157? Well, it's now 147. Thanks to NS, who generously donated $10 to keep the lights on. And so I'm going to save that. And so this is great. We are doing wonderfully. All right. Cleve Toxic, he's been baptized as well. He has all these Q&As where he is an unbaptized catechumen. Yep. Questions like he's baptized. Yeah. What synod are you under, Father? And do you guys have monastics? As I mentioned, I'm part of the Autonomous Orthodox Metropolia of the Americas and British Isles under His Beatitude Metropolitan John of New York and New Jersey. Our monastics, we actually have quite a few monastics, but our main monastery is in West Milford, New Jersey, as I've mentioned before. There are hermitages in Florida, in Canada, and our sister church also has monasteries in the Avlona Synod in America. So they're small, but they are, working monasteries. We do have those. Let me see here. And he wants to be released to the GOC. What is this about? Hey, Father, did you react to Father Mark asking for a canonical release from Archbishop Andre yet? He asked for release because Archbishop Andre shifted views a couple of months over time and now basically thinks ROAC is one of the few, if not only, valid synods in the world. Much of the change is because of false info and hearsay spread about him. He wants to be released to the GOC Kalinikos. I am going to say that because of the parties involved, and since I am not involved, even though I have been told about this very recently in the past couple of days, I don't feel comfortable commenting on it until one of the parties involved does. So, as far as I'm concerned, it's not that I'm trying to keep it down or hide it. It's just that I'm not involved, and I don't want to mess up whatever processes are going on, etc. It's not my place or business. I realize that for people who attended Father Mark's parish, it affects them directly, and yeah, that's a concern they need to bring up with him, and that's the only way things are going to get better. But it's not. It can't be that we can't do it that way. Any other way, like that's different. Hold on, one moment. What was that? Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was just the phone reminding me again that we did meet. We reached the goal, and so here we are, and we are now in the final. It seems like we're having so much fun, but we are now in the final 29 minutes of the extended program because it was going to be an hour. So thank you so much for everyone who assisted, and of course, I will anything more we get will be devoted to adding to a total on another live stream we do, another start for an hour. Maybe we'll do tomorrow or Thursday, and so yeah, we're there. It's going to have to be earlier. My entire life and house schedule has been completely altered by events in my house, so this is part of why I'm doing earlier streams during the week. So let me see here. Let's see. This is Ascendancy. What are the BOSVR's thoughts on some of the Romanian Athletic elders in the 20th century? Antipa Dinescu, Dionysius Elias Volpe. It depends on. I would assume it depends on what their positions were. Seraphim says, "Yeah, this news about Father Mark is huge stuff. I am certainly not judging it." Jacob says he shouldn't be teaching Orthodoxy when he isn't baptized unless he has a blessing. I assume he's talking about Cleve. Matthew says, what Ben doesn't see is that the Orthobro channels only have them on as their trophy. Ascendancy says, hello, Seraphim. Seraphim says, Russia's Catacomb Saints Part 5 coming soon. And Stephanie says, looks like a 10 p.m. stream tonight. I actually started early. It's gonna stay at 9:30. I started at 7:30 and it was gonna only be an hour long stream. And then suddenly people came in to help. And so it became a 2 hour long stream. I appreciate it, but I actually at least some days this week I can't stay later than 9:30 because I actually have to go pick up a family member from work who lost their transportation. So I have to be their ride. That's why I started at 7:30 so we could all kind of be there. John, Dylan, Reader John with, is there still a True Orthodox Discord? Maybe, I guess they run one. Yeah, Sarah from Mother says, yes, I run one. 100 plus members. Yeah, well, I mean, you can join. Degas Velosti says, Father, have you been in a previously in a different synod? Not as a priest or actually as clergy at all. I was originally baptized in Hackna, back before they went, crazy. And the priest that baptized me is now in the GOC Clinicos. I made some mistakes, joined ROAC in America under Gregory of Colorado. That led to wild adventures where my family, my ex's relationship with other children ended. I ended up going to Russia, living there for 2 years, coming back and finding my wife in America. And then had another child, and I joined the Milan Synod back in 2007. Back in 2007, so 18 years ago. And there was a period where I did leave and I left my synod because of disagreements with my bishops. It was about a year and a half, but I came back. So, and in that period, I was with Metropolitan Nicholas, who just received me in and gave me a release out. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, everything is copacetic for me. But yeah, I haven't really been in a previously different synod for 18 years. Unseen Warfare says, Father, can you talk about how the church historically viewed the Tsar and why that's not Caesaropapism? Yeah, absolutely. One thing to keep in mind is that the concept of Caesaropapism that exists, that usually is a charge thrown against us by Roman Catholics, is that the Tsar had total control over everything, including the church. The symphony between the Tsar and the church still existed, although sometimes it wouldn't appear that way for a few reasons. One would be that oftentimes the Tsars would literally persecute the church anyway, but that was less common. The more common one was that, especially with the what's the word I'm looking for? With the dynasty after Ivan III, you often find that patriarchs were actually members of the royal family as well. So it could give the impression, I don't know, it smells like someone just sprayed like 10,000 tons of Lysol next to me. So that's interesting. Maybe I stink. But the point is that it would appear that sometimes the royal power and the church's power were intertwined, but it was more accidentally so more than it was actually by role. So let me see here. I hope that helps Unseen Warfare. Let me see. A civil one too, not a bunch of TO synod bashing. Okay, so he's finally managed to find a balance in a TO Discord. I won't start one, but if you want to, you can. Ascendancy says, Leonidas, I haven't asked in particular about the new non-commemorating elders of Romania and Athos, and I'm not as sure about the ones I mentioned, but I know Elder Dionysia was a solid confessor. Okay, to read John the member chat, add me. There is thumbs up. Can any true Orthodox join the Old Calendarist monastery on Mount Athos? On Mount Athos, everyone is, to my knowledge, on the Old Calendar, except for like one monastery, from what I've heard. I think what you're referring to is the True Orthodox Monastery, as in Esfigmenu or one of the skeets. I would contact friends of Esfigmenu and ask that question more directly. So yeah, definitely. That would be my recommendation. Look up Friends of Esfigmenu on any major social media platform, Facebook, X, etc., and let them know. Seraphim Webster, give me 1 second. Welcome. Hold on. So, welcome, Seraphim, and give me 1 second. Hi, sorry about that. I was trying to figure out
Father
this.
bless.
Yeah, may God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Okay. Did you have a question, or what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I could just join the conversation as well.
Yeah.
Bob brings up a really good point where he says, "Beware of the fake ecumenical patriarchate Esfigmenu." And I was actually wondering if you knew a little bit more about that situation, because it's crazy to me that there is only one Esfigmenu monastery, but I'm aware that the EP has propped up a false abbot to basically lay claim over the Esfigmenu monastery underneath
Right.
the EP. How does that even work? I don't know if you're aware of how it works. I have no idea how it would even begin to work. How do they have both True Orthodox and World Orthodox in the same monastery with
I
two
can
competing
explain.
abbots?
Yeah, I can explain. Now, basically, what happened was this: Esfigmeno, as you know, is a large monastic compound. It's a large traditional monastic compound, and they have some like little outside buildings that some of them of good size, and one of them was like hold on, welcome, Jacob Clemens. One of them was the like it was like I believe it was the mail transfer building. So like when they got mail, it was sent to this building, and then monks would have to come pick it up and take it to the monastery.
Yeah.
From what I understood, they took over that building. So they don't
Okay.
actually have any control over the compound itself. They have control
Yep.
of a mail compound outside the building, and they've declared that new West Fig menu, and that's how they're doing their base of operations is this mail building, or
And they're pretty
I don't know, storage building.
demonic with how they attack the true Orthodox. I've seen articles that get posted where they will basically, well, they'll make like a false flag. For
Yep.
example, they were basically saying that two monks from Esfegmenu, the true Orthodox monks, assaulted one of their monks who was simply just tending to a garden or something of that effect.
Yeah, and most
And
of those are
they call
usually
them
lies. Yeah.
laymen dressed in monastic garb, is what they call
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, well, I will say that it's not working as well as I think. A lot of people aren't falling for it. I know that
Hmm.
like the football club talk is supporting S Figmenu, the real S Figmenu. And so this is just gross, what we're seeing. But now, from what I understand, they blocked a service road that was the only usable service road, and so that was a few
Yep.
months ago. But the Abbot Methodius and like they were pretty confident they could deal with it, but it's just more stress and more difficulties that they pile on.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And then I guess
Let
to
me.
address Seraphim Rose's point, because I think he's talking about the
Yeah.
Antiochian bishop, Bishop Anthony, who used to be my bishop because I
Yeah,
was
I think we can.
Antiochian.
Let's just call him SR7 because it's going to confuse people when they watch this.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. SR7's point, because he brings up that bishop who surprisingly was my bishop when I was Antiochian. He got recently instated too. Um, really, at the end of the day, what I would like to say to SR7, coming from a Antiochian, I was underneath Father Josiah Trenum. This whole resist from within ecclesiology is completely novel. I would recommend the book History of Resistance by Subdeacon Nectarios. If you need a copy, let me know. I plan on doing a reading of it on my stream. But this idea that you can remain in communion knowingly and knowingly commemorate heretics, and you're somehow able to combat heresy is, I can make an analogy for it, Father, if you'd like. Uh, Imagine you're a parent of a son who comes out,
Okay.
right? And you were to tell him, I don't agree with that, but I'm going to take you to all the pride parades. I'm going to buy you LGBTQAI plus shirts and all the merchandise. And in actuality, in action, you're supporting them, but only by words are you actually saying that you don't support their lifestyle. I don't support this lifestyle. You really shouldn't do this. But all your other actions are completely contrary. And if anything, send the message that no, you do agree with this. There's nothing you're doing that's stating the otherwise by your actions.
Yeah, definitely true.
Yeah.
Mm.
So when I came
Thoughts,
to that
Jacob?
realization, that's when I realized. But yeah. Anyways, I'll step off the soapbox.
No, no problem. I just noticed that he
Yep.
undid his mic, so I was curious if he had a question or anything.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just going off what you're saying, especially regarding sort of like the Broker MP situation. It feels like from a lot of what I've seen with Broker, right? They seem to talk out of both sides of their mouth because they commemorate the MP, but they also condemn the stuff that the MP is doing, like with the war with Ukraine and so on and so forth. So it seems like they're simultaneously um supporting MP, but at the same time they're not supporting MP. It's like they're giving him lip service almost.
Yeah, but they really are. I think once they committed to the union, I think that is supporting MP. SR7 says Bishop Anthony Michaels was also bishop in Toledo, Ohio at one point. Are you an Ohio Webster? I don't know why he switched the last name with you, but
Yeah. No, I'm
and
not.
you're
I'm not in Ohio, but I lived in Southern California. I went to St. Andrew's Antiochian Church. It's Father Josiah Trenum's parish, and their bishop now in that diocese is Bishop Anthony. He was instated, I believe, last year.
well, that answers that. Let's see here. Is anything known about the St. John of San Francisco House Church in Vancouver, BC on the map of other True Orthodox churches on Google Maps? Is the parish active? Ascendancy says yes. I believe it's a Rossi House parish, but I don't know if they're active. If they're Rossi, Vladimir, click on the pin and then read the description, then contact the synodal headquarters in Mansonville. I mean, you could just contact the house parish and ask. I mean, you don't have to call the bishop to check on a parish unless they don't have a number. You know. Anyway, all right. So we are now in the last. Wait. I'm gonna say it in just a second. I'm gonna say it. One moment. All right, we are now in the last 15 minutes of the broadcast. So if people have questions, if they have comments, if they have challenges, if they have whatever they want to do, this is your last chance to do it. We have reached the total. We have extended it to the full 2 hours. So it was going to be an hour show. Let's see, Sarah, again. So how would SR7 says, so how would I go about joining the True Orthodox Monastery in Athos? Please go to Friends of Esfig menu. You can find them on Facebook. You can find them on Instagram. You can find them on Twitter, I believe. Look up Friends of Esfigmenu. They have direct contact with Esfigmenu Monastery, and you can see about joining. They would tell you the process by which you would, because you'd have to go to Greece, you'd have to get to Athos, and then you'd have to get through all the things to get to Athos. So, I mean, to get to Esfigmenu. So, yeah, there's no like open admissions process. I mean, it's literally under siege by the Greek government. So, it's not as easy as as a lot of people think. It's not impossible by any means, but if you're serious, yeah. De Conspilotti says maybe first join a True Orthodox church. Yes,
Yeah.
that's a better idea. Start there.
I don't think. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
I don't think Esfigmeno lets anyone in that's vaccinated, so that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't know if he was. I didn't know he was vaccinated, but
Well,
yeah,
I don't know either. I'm just saying that's something to consider.
I'd also give the recommendation that my priest would give to me. So consider this my priest's advice, not my own, when he would say, let the chrism dry first.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's basically what I think a lot of people are coming up here. Bob says, then learn Greek. Sarah from Webster says, what is the name of ya? I don't know what he was going to finish with. That could be a lot.
I guess we'll find out next stream, Father.
He said a bit before SR7, friends of us, we can exactly speak to them on the subject. But first, get to the church. Join the church. Join the True Orthodox. You know you want to. Let me see here. Speak to them on the subject and see if it's right for you to keep in contact with FOE. Esfigmenu doesn't accept anyone with a passport. That's an interesting thing. So you would have to, I presume, if you didn't already have it, you'd have to give up the passport, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
Father, if you don't mind, I can give an answer to Benjamin's question. He finally
yes. What is the name of the Discord channel?
And if you don't mind me to give a shameless plug to where he can find it.
That's fine.
Yeah, seraphimwebster.com has a good list of TO Inquirer books as well as audiobooks, and if right underneath my picture on there is the Discord logo. If you click that, it'll give the invite link to the Discord.
Oh, that wasn't bad. You have an independent website. Okay, I thought you were just gonna be like Discord.
No. I wanted to plug the website, which has the Discord. But the website's the main
hold on a second.
Plug the YouTube channel too.
The YouTube channel's also on there.
It says Luke #1 diorite has entered the studio, but I have the power. So welcome, Still Herman. Wow, I think he's shocked.
Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, I changed your name already. Okay, we can't hear you anymore. Were you saying something?
Okay, like it's so laggy for me. It's like a 5-second delay.
Oh, okay. Let's see. A brother I saw 2 days ago was denied to enter because his passport had a microchip. At least that's what he had told me. I didn't know that there was easy ways to get into Esfigmenu, I guess. Little Wing 7 with a member chat says LOL. So yeah, welcome, Herman. You know, we started earlier, so this is gonna okay. He's gone. Well, hopefully he'll be
Can't
back.
you travel internationally with an enhanced driver's license?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Hold on. Okay, he's back.
I know I could get to Canada with one.
Well, Canada, yes. I think you can drive
Yeah.
to. I think you can do enhanced driver's license to Canada and Mexico, and that's about it. Pray Unceasing said, Seraphim, interesting to hear if Father Josiah shared his thoughts on ecumenism with you.
Yeah. I had a talk with Father Josiah before becoming a catechumen as an Antiochian. And in this interview, he asked if there's anything a catechumen. And really, my issue at the time was I knew about True Orthodoxy. I didn't know much about it at the time. I just knew that there was a calendar issue and that it
Right.
went a little bit beyond just the calendar, but it had to do with ecumenism. So I had asked him about ecumenism in True Orthodoxy, and instead of really addressing ecumenism, he honed in on the calendar part and said,
Oh.
the old calendarists, they're right in saying that the old calendar should have been kept, and the new calendar, it's unfortunate that they changed it, but it's no reason to go into schism over. That's what he said, and where he sort of dropped the line on the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Baptist Christianovich says, Father bless, may God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Also, I sent you a book, Baptiste. I don't know if you saw that. A link to a Google book to give more of an answer on that question about the Hildebrandians and the enslavement of priest wives. Jackson Celesti says, Seraphim Webster, are you a layman? I'm pretty sure if you're not a reader, I don't are you what's your rank?
I'm a terminal catechumen. I have 3 years that I'll be in Okinawa, Japan for, and so I'm doing a remote catechism with my GOC priest. However, if anyone has any concerns about like my YouTube channel where I read books, I have his blessing to do it. So.
Let's see. SR7 says, is my Oriental Orthodox baptism valid? Probably not. I mean, you'd be conditional. I'm fairly certain you'd be conditionally baptized. There's a reason for that. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a long decline in the baptisms among the Oriental Orthodox, in which case some of them are literally putting just the baby's butts in the water, things like that. It's just, yeah, it's gotten a lot worse. So we're kind of iffy about it. Let me see here. Baptiste Christianovich says, I'm searching the source book on the BNF. Okay. Vedlosti says, okay, glory to God. So, all right.
I have a
So, yeah.
question though.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's like something I've been like struggling with because like the book of Genesis is considered history generally, right?
Yes.
Like how would you like reconcile like modern like Y-DNA haplogroups with the table of nations?
What?
Because like the table of nations describes, you know, like the paternal lineages of like all of humanity, right?
Uh-huh.
Like how would you reconcile like modern like genetics, like Y-DNA haplogroups for people groups?
Unfortunately, I am familiar with Genesis, but I am not familiar with haplogroups. I did not get into applied biology, unfortunately, or genetics. I have cursory level knowledges of them. So in order to know what you're talking about, I would actually have to know more on the subject of genetic diversity and what's the issue.
Yeah, because like I keep asking, like nobody knows about this, or like because it's like it's pretty important because it's like it's history, right? And like
No, it's not just history though. What you see, what you're asking for is for people who are studied in genetics and historical genetics, as opposed to just history. There are loads of people who are experts in history who know nothing about genetics. So you're asking for two things. You're asking for expertise in history and genetics from a priest.
yeah, that's true. Like the others as well, like if they knew it, but yeah, I
Yeah. So I
understand.
mean,
Wait,
you'd have to
didn't
find
you go on
specialists.
didn't you go
Go
on
ahead.
Jay Dyer's stream and ask this question, or am I getting extreme deja vu?
No, that's not me. I don't think.
All right, I'm just getting deja vu. My bad.
Yeah. Wait, do you know about this, or like, are you like knowledgeable about this?
I've heard this question asked before on a stream, and I don't know where I've heard it before. Are you aware of Saint Seraphim Rose's books, Genesis, Creation, and Early Man?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
does he talk about this, or?
I'm not saying he does because I haven't fully read it, but I'm saying there's a good chance he does because it's a 1,000-page treatise basically on the book of Genesis.
Okay.
So that might be a good place to start.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's a good recommendation. Because like it's so weird because everyone thinks like autosomal DNA is like what's important, right? But like the Bible only cares about like paternal lineages. That's how like the tribes of Israel like are described, and people groups, they descend from a common um like denominator ancestor, so like so-called like a patriarch almost, right? Like for all peoples. So like the Y DNA, the Y chromosome is what's important, not like the ethnic makeup of peoples. You understand what I mean?
Okay. First off, we're talking about the social conventions that God required of people in the scriptures, and you're talking about biological imperatives in genetics. They don't necessarily have to match.
Wait, why though?
Because people really didn't understand genetics back then.
But like when like the Table of Nations, says like, okay, like this nation is
the Table of Nations?
like this person is the ancestor of these people, for example. That matches like the Y chromosome lineages, for example, of like people being descended from this person that lived, this man that lived like 1,000 years ago, for example.
Yeah.
So like I can't reconcile it.
Before we go on this topic a little more, I'm just gonna throw in some comments here. My understanding is Metropolitan Chrysostom stayed in communion with the World Orthodoxy over the calendar, and ecumenism became more prominent. He broke with World Orthodoxy. I'm not sure if you're talking about Metropolitan Chrysostomos of Florida. Back then, there was no such thing as World Orthodoxy because there were still battles within the same church. I was fully submerged. I took videos, so LOL. Well, it's up to the priest who receives you what he wants to do with that.
Or was it triple immersion?
Yeah, we don't know, but that's not for us to deal with. I'm not going to play gotchas in the chat with someone who's trying to figure out what, just ask your priest. Baptiste says, but yeah, enslaving priest's wife in France from the Hildebrandians is something I should be aware of. Absolutely. Let me see here. Does anyone on the panel want to discuss the rise of Nazism among Gen Z and the whole race thing? I mean, we can.
That is actually like pretty interesting because like it's a really dumb idea if you think about it. The Nazis, right? They think like white people are like superior, but white people don't have like a common like male lineage. Like it's so different. Some have R, some have I, some have like N, and like they don't. There's not like one source of like whiteness. It's like they're like competing like internally. It's like it doesn't make sense at all.
Isn't there one that only Turks and Greeks have? Like they have their own haplogroup?
They're like J2, I think.
Yeah.
For example, like I have I haplogroup. I'm like more. I'm genetically closer to a Turk than like a fellow like Finnish person or like a Danish person with a R haplogroup.
Decos Veloci, am I allowed to write in a different language? Yeah, sure. Baptiste says, also, if you have any sources on the Gnostic aspect of the Pateria, I'm interested. I remember they wanted to abolish marriage altogether. Very true. And they also have early connections with Hildebrand.
Well, I think
Gabriel Michaels says, Table of Nations is more geopolitical, cultural connections than genetic connections. Let's see. So, yeah. I mean, I find that the race discussion, it gets to borderline obsessive with a lot of people. And it's okay if you feel like, you want to spend more time talking about your ethnic background, learning about your ethnic background, probably being part of your ethnic background. But I find that a lot of the people that are getting more and more involved with stuff like this are usually people who just hate other people's ethnic backgrounds and barely know anything about their own.
The thing is though, like this is not really about race, it's about lineage. So for example, like I want to know what my like father's father's father like goes back to. I want to know my origins. Like
Sir from
that's
or sorry, SR7, because I know you want me to call him SR7, Father.
No.
SR7. You have GOC Kalinikos parishes in Ohio, as well as
I
I
think
think
there is
there's
an
some
Avlona
synods.
parish also in
I
Ohio
know
too. Yeah.
the GOC of Lona also has parishes there too.
Yeah, the Father Samuel Rake, he's there, so he can help also.
You could
But there are different GOC churches in northern Ohio, and there's quite a few True Orthodox in Ohio. So
you could check out the TO map, which
Yeah,
isn't perfect, but
especially
it has a
northern
lot
Ohio,
of.
you're gonna have.
yeah,
I know there's two GOC Kalinikos parishes that I can think of in northern Ohio.
yep. And then there's in central Ohio there is Father Sam, and also there's Metropolitan Nicholas of Cincinnati. So yeah, Ohio, there's stuff there. Any links to the map? The map is in the description. Both maps are in the description. Just go to the description.
Yeah, it's a good map.
Yep. And so let's see here. I don't know what Zilot is saying here. Yem nisam nikod vladika kakia nikod od nikoik sipot Karimkom Imam Duchovny to say, I guess he's talking about like in Serbia, you have besides Archbishop Akakios, there have been Russian Church abroad parishes, and I think I like a Klinikos mission. Is not sure there. Okay, I'm a little lost. My Serbian. Okay, I don't have any Serbian. My Russian's terrible. It used to be better. Okay, they're talking in Serbian together. By the way, it's impossible to determine or discern a person's religion from DNA. Very true.
GOCK
Okay.
are Cypriots.
Yeah, that's PF Chang. He's he's chosen in True Orthodox Gripper. But we are now past the 10:30 mark. Yeah, he's talking about STOC with Vladika Akakie. Yeah. Yeah, Vladika Akakie is a good bishop. I know that a lot of people have their differing opinions on him, so on and so forth. But let me just see here. I have not gotten a call to go. Huh? Oh, I don't know if it was someone's speaker or something. I have not gotten yet a message to go. So let's see. And then come again? Yeah. Jacob?
But I didn't say nothing.
Okay. I don't know who did.
Sorry about
I
that.
thought the ball looked like it bounced for you. But yeah, we're in the second. We're now going into the third hour, which is let me see here. Sorry, Father, brother is asking something about where I am. No problem. Welcome. Enjoy. And who disappeared? We lost someone. Who did we lose?
Maximus.
Oh, we lost Maximus. What? I'll come back, Maximus. I mean, we're here for a little while yet until I get that call.
Yeah, regarding the whole Cyprionite situation with the Kalinikos Synod, it's very much blown out of proportion.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think the whole Cyprionite thing it's basically been functionally over for years.
I think
But
you can make a case that Kalinikos is agnostic, but I don't think you can make a case that they're Cyprionite at all.
yeah, I don't know him well enough to even know whether that's true. But
Well, if they were Kipronite, they would be communing new calendarists, like in knowingly communing new calendarists, which they don't
to be
do.
fair, the Cyprianites don't commune new calendars, or didn't back then. Welcome, Unseen Warfare.
How you doing, Father? Your blessing.
Oh, benedicite.
Thank you. So what's going on?
Well, we're actually closing out. I'm just kind of waiting on a call because I have to go. That's why I came here. I came early is because I have to probably drive my son home. So yeah, but
I know you were just saying something when I joined in that the Cyprianites didn't actually commune new calendars.
They actually chrismated them upon entrance. They back then they were the only ones doing it besides the Matthewites.
Okay, because some people say that Father Seraphim Rose commune calendars, and then when you look at the context of it, it was they would come and he would give them some form of catechism and explain to them these distinctions. That's what I read, and then let them, he says something like they're not getting the body and blood in where they are, so we have to help these people.
Yeah.
So,
which I think that was kind of was a common attitude even among the True Orthodox in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, because what is it? It's like intention, right? It's not necessarily like, okay, yeah, that person's over there, but do they know the distinctions and like what the real problem is? And if they don't know those problems, then should we treat? It's kind of like, I think some people were a bit idealistic and they didn't understand this kind of pastoral approach where it's like, well, not everybody understands these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very true. Now, as for what PF is claiming in the chat, that it's in their confession of faith that they can't assure that the heterodox don't have the grace of the mysteries. I'd have to see that. I'd have to see that statement. I
It's
doubt that
nowhere
they'd
to
be
be
that.
found in the 2016 Confession of Faith.
Oh, okay. So, they also deny Cyprianism ever existed. What they're talking, because I spoke to Archbishop Maxentius about this of Etna like 2 weeks ago, or longer, like almost a month ago. And he made very clear that this was never an ecclesiastical position of theirs. They never held it as a confession of faith, etc. It was a discussion point. And I do realize that some people, are bothered by that because back in the 2000s, people were building up this heresy of Cyprianism. Who disappeared this time? I guess it was Jacob. Well,
I do have a question for you about that, actually.
Sure.
Okay, so here's my question: if that is as it is, would you say, in their case, maybe if they did write something that someone found to be kind of scandalizing, was what was written, did it match up with practice? Do you get what I'm saying? Is like, did they practice what they're accused of or not?
Well,
and I would say no, right?
Yeah, I would say no as well. I mean, keep this in mind. They were accused of being crypto-ecumenists, but they were probably doing the most vocal anti-ecumenist work back then. Many of those older videos are from video cassettes that they produced themselves.
Well, see, this is what the idea came from. It was, St. Augustine, there's certain teachings of his that some people say, well, he was wrong about this. But then I think it's in the book that Father Seraphim had put out, he kind of explains that in practice, the things that St. Augustine's kind of accused of, in practice, he does those things. So that's kind of the thing. It's like, can you write something and necessarily maybe have like a too hyper fine of a point, but in practice, you could be right in faith, and that's not being considered, I guess.
Yeah, true.
I think what Ascendancy put in the chat too is important because it was always the thesis that people took as the major contention that was never actually adopted synodally.
Yeah, exactly the point. That's the point I was trying to make. Sigum Christian says this insane amount of schisms. It's not really that insane. Have almost left the Orthodox desolate in the perspective of a Christian or spiritual seeker. The church is separated so much I can't even tell which branch is right. I think if your branch, for lack of a better term, and we talk about the branches being the national churches of Orthodoxy throughout the world, is against ecumenism, against Sergianism, and is, preserving the faith, then there's nothing to worry about. If you'd like to see that in practice, you can look at the map that's in the description and see if there's anything near you, and join it if you want to find the true faith. Hold on, 1 second.
Yeah.
So that's the key there.
Well, didn't Augustine say, maybe it was misquoted, but I thought he said that it doesn't matter what schism, administrative or not.
Okay, wait, I got the message. Give me a second, please. Hold on. Folks, like, you guys could have talked without me, but in any case, first off, I want to thank everyone for being here. And so I was waiting, as you know, that's why I went early. Okay. Unfortunately, the guy's talking in Serbian in the chat. I'm sorry to say this, but for everyone, thank you to everyone, all of our guests, to everyone who participated in the chat, to Seraphim, to Herman, to Jacob, to Unseen Warfare, were there any other people in the chat? Or I think there was one other person. I can't remember who, but thank you for them too. To those who had to our listeners, to those who had questions and had comments, and to those who support our mission, support the channel. I shall remind you that once again, we did make our goal today. So just wrong one. Waning. I can't do it. I just don't. I don't have it. And so thank you for that. For those who had support our mission, support the channel. We at NFTU need your help. Support us by subscribing or donating at nftu.net or on GiveSendGo. We remember all of you in our prayers, and thank you for all the support for NFTU. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good night, everyone. Through the prayers of Holy Fathers of Jesus Christ, our God, have mercy on us and save us. Amen. And thank you, everyone who commented at the end. I'm trying to get them all up on the screen.
Appreciate you, Father. Take it easy.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Everyone, have a great night. And God bless you.
Good night, everyone.
All right.